Welcome to the Get Real podcast. I'm Austin, your host. Now, today we're going to talk about something that is going to be. I'm really passionate about this subject. I'll tell you, just to start off the bat, I grew up watching the San Antonio Spurs all the way back to early 2000s, between 01 and 03, back when they're getting their ass kicked by the Shaq and Kobe Lakers. That's the team I grew up with, and I've stuck with them my whole life. But I'd like to think that I can stay pretty unbiased when it comes to them, other teams, my expectations. This year, just to throw it out there, I think best case scenario is 6th seed. Most likely more of the same from last year, especially considering with DeJounte Murray being hurt. But that's neither here or there. Today, we are going to be talking about which kind of situation would you prefer, the Kawhi Leonard situation or the Jimmy Butler situation. Both very different things. People have bashed both these players and have said that what they're doing is wrong, but I'm here to break down exactly what happened with these two players and their respective organizations and which one's worse, how should one player really act, or is there somewhere in the middle where you meet where you act as a professional basketball player? So let's start with Kawhi Leonard. Early on last season, Kawhi was hurt, obviously, from the Zaza Pachulia injury, and he missed all preseason, and then he missed all the way up until, I want to say it was December, and then he finally came back. People kind of thought that took a little bit longer to start off with, that he eventually came back. It was just kind of weird, because Tony Parker came back before he did, and he tore up his knee. I mean, damage, like tearing of the muscles and ligaments. Really, really nasty injury, and then Tony Parker ended up coming back. So they thought, okay, maybe it just takes a little longer. So he eventually came back. He had a few decent games, and then the following, the next year, I believe it was, I want to say January, he eventually fell out again, and then the Spurs out of nowhere said he is out indefinitely. And then a few months passed, and then until March, and I remember because the Spurs just beat the Timberwolves, which is ironic about the two players we're talking about. And then there was that famous players meeting with Kawhi, asking them what happened, and people blew up. How dare this team confront a player about his injury? It's none of their business. This and that, tearing up guys like Tony Parker and Manu Ginobili for what was being said, and especially my injury was 100 times worse than Kawhi's injury, is what Parker essentially said. He got tore up for that, and even Manu got caught in, which I don't understand why people got upset with him. All he said was, we can't act like he's coming back. We fell for it too many times. We just got to go on like he's never coming back here. There's nothing wrong with that quote. He just said what everybody's thinking. It's a good mentality to have, especially when you're gearing up for the playoffs. But what ended up happening, and this was released well after the season was over, Michael Wright reported that Kawhi Leonard was telling, or not him personally, but his camp was leaking out, hey, he's going to come back against this game against New Orleans. Hey, he's going to come back against this game against Minnesota. And therefore, the players were hearing that. I believe, he was contacting players saying, hey, I'll be back for this game. Telling Spurs personnel, I'll be back for this game. And this happened time and time again until eventually the locker room thing happened where they had a meeting and just said, dude, what is going on? And then the media went crazy with that. But I thought that was interesting, that little nugget of information, Kawhi voluntarily letting organization, staff, and players knowing that, hey, I might come back for this game or this game or this game. And then they finally just said, hey, man, what's going on? But that information didn't get leaked till, I want to say it was just before Kawhi got traded, or at least a few weeks before. That's very interesting to me. Because if the Spurs wanted to, the organization, pop, somebody, just to uphold the reputation, they could have said that. They could have told anybody, hey, don't get mad at us. Kawhi told us he was coming back. But they didn't, because they're not a team, despite what people were thinking at the time, they have integrity. They're not going to air out family business, no matter how bad it might look for them. They take care of their players. And then they thought, well, people started thinking, well, maybe they're just not handling Kawhi's injury great. Maybe his doctor's misdiagnosing him. I can't speak for that because no one knows what really happened. Not even Kawhi has opened up about it. He just said, hey, I'm grateful, and just moved on. But let's look. The Spurs have the history where you should give them the benefit of the doubt. This team got fined $250,000 back when David Stern was a commissioner for resting the Big Three in a nationally televised game against LeBron's Miami Heat. $250,000. That's a good chunk of change. Just so their players get a few extra, day or two of rest. You really think they're going to jeopardize at the time, their franchise player long-term health? Hell no. Don't forget also, I think it was 01-02 where Tim Duncan really messed up his knee in the regular season and he could have played for the playoffs, but Pop said, nope, not going to have it. We're not risking it. Tim Duncan's not going to play in the playoffs. They could have used him then too, especially with David Robinson coming at the end of his career. This team has a history of taking care of their players, whether it's the franchise guy or a rotational player, giving them their rest, not being Tom Thibodeau and letting their players play 40 minutes a game and wearing them out. They take care of their guys. So I thought that was kind of asinine for anybody to say, oh, they're just rushing them back out there, oh, they're not taking care of their player. They were so quick to jump on the Spurs and just tear them to pieces. And then it started coming out that, okay, season's over, it's whatever, let's just try to extend Kawhi to that Supermax and figure things out. Kawhi goes to New York to rehab. And then also, this was on ESPN and all the major channels, Michael Wright reported, oh, Kawhi is ducking Spurs officials and Spurs trainers when they come in to visit him in New York. He is ducking them. A grown man is hiding from the team that's paid him $20 million and he didn't play more than 9 games. Wow. I didn't hear Kawhi getting really bashed over that. That's pretty messed up. People don't realize how good Kawhi had it. Spurs didn't rush him in once they realized he was talented, say, here, you save us and figure it out. He had the benefit of being brought up with 4 Fall Hall of Famers to show him the way, to show him how it's done. You get to train with some of the best proven champions, and Popovich, Manu Ginobili, Tony Parker, and Tim freaking Duncan. You get to learn from all those guys, and then guess what? They were more than happy to give you the keys to the franchise so you could be the guy. But apparently, eventually down the line, Kawhi just said, hey, he didn't say this, I say Kawhi, but it's really his camp that kind of released this. He wanted the superstar treatment that other players are getting from other franchises. Spurs don't really do that. It was kind of known. They will, and this has been said in practice, you name it. People have talked about this. Pop would get on to Tim Duncan like he would get on to a fringe 15th man on a team. Didn't matter what it was. He will go after someone, starter, bench player, guy barely making the team. He'll get on to them the same. Which I guess if you're in today's day and age where you kind of want to be, really taken care of as, almost worshipped, where you can do whatever the hell you want, kind of like a Kobe or LeBron, what Russell Westbrook, those kind of guys. Maybe that's something he needed. But regardless of what the reasons were, he never talked to them or hardly ever talked to them face to face. Pop had to find his ass in LA to finally hold an off-season meeting and so they can talk about what their future is going to be. He had to chase them around. This isn't Orlando or Sacramento where they're just a nobody's team that's never accomplished anything. This is a team that won 5 championships that helped make you into the guy of who you are anyway. They helped, mold you. And I'm not saying they should get all the credit. Kawhi has a very good work ethic. He should get plenty of the credit. But if he had a problem or if he wanted certain things, you can't just hide behind your group and have them talk to you. Be a man. Talk to a guy that's always taking care of you and your other teammates, who has a great history with other players, who everybody loves across the league. Be a man to talk to him. Don't hide and run and then jump away. I saw this quote, this message, this tweet, I believe it was, and I thought it was hilarious because of how true it was, and it's as follows. The Spurs and Kawhi Leonard are like that marriage where the guy keeps sending messages to his wife, but his wife is ignoring his texts and calls because she is sleeping with the guy from Los Angeles. So she goes to New York to hide from her husband. And when she gets caught cheating, she says, well, I didn't like that you said that your job was 100 times worse. You hurt my feelings. Which I thought was interesting, because after that Parker quote, it's like, oh, that was really what broke the camel's back. That's really what, when Kawhi said, okay, I'm done. Really? Whether you agree with that quote or not, who cares? I don't know if you guys forgot, Michael Jordan punched a teammate in practice. They got in a fight. He gave Steve Kerr a black eye, and they made up for it. It's not that big of a deal. And that was and then Steve Kerr helped him win a few championships. I don't see how one quote would be like, well, that's it, I'm out. I think, in my opinion, he took that quote and said, okay, I'm going to use this, and just, lean on that as why I'm out. To continue the quote, it ends up finishing saying, and the husband is like, what the hell? I fed you, clothed you, put a roof over your head, I even gave you a ring. I saved you from that guy from Indiana that wanted to keep you on a farm. Imagine if Kawhi went to Indiana, the team that originally drafted him. He wouldn't have won a championship. I doubt he would be the player that he is today. They wouldn't have given him the keys to a franchise. They already had Paul George, and Danny Granger was still killing it at that time. Who knows how he turned out? He still would have been solid. Don't get me wrong. No matter where Kawhi went, he would have been a solid player. Would he have been a top 5 player? Learning from 4 Hall of Famers and being brought on at his own leisure and being trained in the best way possible? Doubt it. I honestly don't think so. And then I think it really killed it is he listed one team he wanted to go to, which everybody knows, LA. And he said, I will not extend with anybody else. These are 2 teams. Basically crippling any sort of trade negotiation that can work with other players or other teams. He crippled their way of trading him for anything. Because then it was later reported, once after he was traded to Toronto, Brandon Ingram wasn't even an option for the Spurs to trade for. Boston wouldn't trade their top 5 players for Kawhi. Nobody was giving the Spurs anything for Kawhi, which is why he ended up being in Toronto. I'm not saying you should be like, yeah, I'll extend anywhere, but if you really want to get traded somewhere and make a trade happen, why would you cripple their ability to trade you to that team, or any team for that matter? Ended up not working out for him, but he never really talked to him, was quiet the entire season, and nobody knew what the hell was going on. Okay, so now we got that out of the way, let's talk about Jimmy Butler. And this is going to be a hell of a lot easier because he went on an interview and told them exactly what happened, and has been very open about what his problem was with the Timberwolves, whether it's justified or not. He even said 5 days after the season was over, he held a meeting with Tom Thibodeau and management saying, hey, I want out. And then took the whole off season for it to finally leak. But he had multiple meetings. I think he had about 3 or 4 now, reaffirming that, hey, I want out. And it seems like he has more legit reasons. He pointed out that, hey, I don't think Karl-Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins are pulling their weight. They don't have the correct mindset. They don't play defense. They're doing kind of a whole lot of things wrong. Why do you think it was fair for him to air those things out? He's not wrong. Andrew Wiggins, I've mentioned him before, he has all the God-given ability in an athlete, and he hasn't backed it up. He can't shoot, and he can't defend. 2 very big things in today's league where it's about defense and shooting that 3 ball. He hasn't shown anything. Honestly, when was the last time you remember a big shot by Andrew Wiggins? You go, okay, I remember that game and exactly what happened. I can't name one. He pours in empty buckets, empty points, and he doesn't stick. It's just nothing ever points out to you. Karl-Anthony Towns, you can't say the same about him exactly. He's obviously very gifted, especially offensively. Very special player. He's almost comparable to how he plays like Boogie Cousins. He can shoot from anywhere. He can pass a bit. He can do a little bit of everything offensively. Here's how that comparison ends. He can't play a lick of defense either. Or at least he doesn't try as hard as he could. He can't play defense effectively, which is basically the one thing Jimmy Butler is saying. He's saying, hey, these guys are kind of soft. So this is what Jimmy Butler did. He actually showed up to training camp. He said, you know what? Give me the third stringers. I'll play against the starters. And he whooped them. Timberwolves officials were like, yeah, the third stringers plus Jimmy Butler whooped the starters. He killed them. What can you say about that? I mean, that's huge. At least he backed up what he was saying and was proving his point. And I don't know about Tom Thibodeau. He seems kind of overrated as a coach to me now, and I don't know if he fits in today's age. Look how he fitted this team. Half the freaking Timberwolves roster are former Bulls. Derrick Rose, Taj Gibson, obviously Jimmy Butler. It's a weird fit. Luol Deng now he's also picked up. It's the Timberwolves now. He hasn't really installed that defensive edge he was supposed to bring to that city in Wiggins or Towns. So the combination of management, the coach, Wiggins and Towns, who have been signed to huge extensions, basically they can't get anybody else out now because they're capped out. At the very least, you can say, you know what, Butler brought up good points. He didn't lie. He was honest a few days after the season was over and kept meeting with them, showed up to practice. He's even playing now. Whether you think he's too outspoken, there are plenty of worse alternatives. Me personally, I kind of like what Butler's doing. It kind of reminds me of something that MJ or Kobe would do, calling out players saying, hey man, you need to step it up. Like I said before, MJ gave a teammate a black eye. But you know what? He still made it work with Kerr. They still got along. He made it work with Dennis Rodman. Those guys, they can make it work. At least Kobe and Shaq won a few championships before they broke up. Me personally, give me Butler's situation any day of the week, because at least that guy's going to be honest with me, tell me the exact reasons of what's going on and what's wrong. I know it sucks right now, Wolves fans, but you should be grateful. Alright, so tell me what you guys think. Tell me what you guys prefer, Kawhi or Butler in this situation. I always value your guys' opinions. As always, this is the Get Real Podcast.